Good morning. Early morning it is. Our hand today is Jacks on this Christmas Eve. So under the gun folds, and it is to us in early position. And our early position hands look like this. Since we're not under the gun, I do include all of the low pocket pairs along with suited aces. If you make that raise, make a standard raise. There's really only one player that I've marked at this table. It's this. He's a tight aggressive, playing 16, 17, over 4,000 hands. Kind of have to watch for him. I said value bet, don't bluff him on the flop return because he does tend to call with any pair, and I mean normally that pair is going to be a pretty decent pair because he's playing such a tight range to begin with. So this looks like a tight passive. Kind of looks like a tight passive playing 14-3 over 58 hands. Unknown in the small blind, relative unknown in the big blind, but he is looking to be more of like a tight aggressive type player playing 19-16. So I make my raise, and we get one call from the cutoff, which is playing 14-3. We're going to assume that he's playing something along this range. We'll assume he would have raised queens plus ace king. I think we'll give him the suited broadways, suited connectors, and we're going to take out the offsuit broadways. So ace jack, ace queen, king queen. That's at 14% of hands. If we look pre-flop, his call, 1 out of 5 is now 2 out of 5, so might be more inclined to call than raise. Let's add queens back. Maybe that's not a hand that he would raise. Actually, no. Most people raise with queens. We'll leave it there, and then we're going to see a flop. So let's get our hands here. This might be a little wide, but again, relative unknown. He's got 184 combos. We're playing tight up front. Our percent form is 12.2% with 162 combos. The flop comes down king 10 for rainbow. So king 10 is a 4 of spades. King 10 for rainbow. My range's equity is 55.9. His is 44.1. This should hit my range quite a bit, but we're heads up, and this isn't. I expect a lot of calls on here, so because the king and the 10 is going to hit his range, and if I bet now and he calls, I'm gonna have a hard time betting again on the turn on a lot of cards because the cards aren't going to change anything. I expect him to call with the king, and I expect him to call with the 10. Perhaps our play then is to bet our sets and our overpair and our top pair, and then check everything else. But then when we check, we're going to be left with a pretty weak range. So I think on this hand, I think it makes sense to check top pair hands like ace king, king queen. It's not very likely that the turn card's going to really hurt us, and even if we do pick up something like a jack or a queen, that could give us a gut shot draw. So I kind of feel like we're going to have to be balancing our checking range with maybe a top pair and this overpair. I think it's set. If we have kings, 10s, 4s, I think we're going to be betting to increase the size of the pot because he's going to play so tight, and because he doesn't necessarily like to fold. You can see fold to c-bet 43% in position or out of position. I think we have to be a little bit cautious because he's not going to be folding as much as, say, somebody that a typical player. This is unusual for him not to fold. So I think our checks are going to have to be a little bit stronger. But the sets, I think we're going to bet to build value. You could argue that the overpair, like aces and our top pair, should also be betting to build value, but I think that kind of hurts some of our other ranges. So I think we also bet with our open-ended straight draws. So with queen jack, we're going to bet, and I think with some of our gut shots, we're going to be betting. Not a whole lot of them, but I think most, especially heads up, I think usually we're going to be checking a lot more here. I think we're going to be going for check raises. Not a huge amount. I think if we had flush draw, I think check raises might be a little bit better. You could argue that sets maybe could go for a check raise, but I think against a player like this, it might be better just to bet and get value from him 3 straights. Oh, sorry, we're not playing against this guy. We're going up against this guy. So that might change things a little bit. He's a little bit unknown, so maybe we bet a little bit more. But it's still the same process of if we bet, it sets up a situation where if we bet too much in this situation, then our checking range is going to be very weak. So I think even again, I think here against this unknown, I would check sets. And probably check call and see what he does on the turn. But not against this player. So I'm gonna include sets, and I'm gonna basically include everything. I'm gonna check 100% on this board, and he checks. So once I check and he checked, I think we can narrow his range. Not so much mine. So we have 144 combos. Their flop range is, let's see, what is he gonna check? I think he would have bet the set, and I think he would have bet 2 pair. I would think he would bet top pair, but I think these cards is when he would check. So let's get those out. And then I think he would probably have his draws. Would he bet like gut shot or open enders? On a passive player, probably not. Probably not. So I think we're gonna narrow his range down to this. This is 86.1%. He has 143 combos in his range. So you can see that once he checks behind, I think his range gets weaker. All right, 5 of diamonds. I don't think that changes anything at all, but it does open up the possibility of having some sort of draws. So now, you know, he's checked. I think now we go for some delayed C bet for value. So now I think we can start betting a few more hands. I didn't, and I think this is a mistake because I don't think this changed much. Yeah, he could still, you know, maybe he has a king, but I do think he should have been betting his top pair. I think he should have been betting his top pair, but again, yeah, it's versus opponent. So once I checked, I think I'm gonna eliminate a set. I think I'm gonna eliminate overpair. I do think I should have been betting it. I think top pair should be bet now. Jacks and queens, I think, are the cutoff. I think we likely have the best hand. I think we likely have the best hand. But yeah, jacks and queens I think are going to mark the cutoff. I would bet tens. I think jacks and queens were probably ahead of his range since he didn't bet the flop. So with jacks and queens, I think you can probably bet or you can check. I think what did I do here? I checked and he checked. So I think we're gonna leave this in, but note that you could probably bet just as well with these. My thought is you know, if I'm betting, the only hands I could call I think are going to be the 10, maybe under pairs, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get complete value for those. So with the check, I think we're going to include jacks and queens as a check. I do think we need to go for value with top pair plus. That's why I also think jacks and queens should probably go for value. With the middle pair, we're trying to get, you know, like the queen, queen jack to fold, maybe. I don't think queen jacks can fold, but like a jack 9, maybe an ace, suited ace, get them to fold. I don't think I'm going to have flush draws. I think flush draws and open-ended straight draws make for good bets now. Um, I think they help to offset these ranges, and we might not even have enough in our range as a bet. So possibly the gut shots are also going to have to be cut out. It's like the ace, queen, ace, jack. I think those could be delayed C bets as well. All right, so that's my checking range. And you can see my checking range also kind of got a little bit weaker because I think we should be betting our stronger hands. So we got 92 combos, but then he also checks. So again, I'm going to take out the premiums. I think being passive is probably still just like that. Let's make sure we don't have any of those. Oops. All right. So their turn range 97.8. So you can see that it's mostly checks. We're still ahead a little bit, and then 9 of hearts. And I think this is, I think we could have gotten value on the turn and then check called on this river if he calls the turn and hope that maybe he bets again. We might have lost to 10-9 on that run out, but I think it's something we could have risked. All right, so I bet half pot, and at this point, what am I betting half pot? I definitely think sets and 2 pairs are betting for value. I think once he bet or once he checked behind, I think we can get some value for jacks and queens, and probably also for middle pair because jack 10, ace 10. Although I don't think jack 10 is going to bet for value. I think ace 10 bets because we have a good kicker, but jack 10 is more of a showdown value hand. I think weak pair, ace high, nothing is all going to be checking. Do we have any bluffs? I don't really have any bluffs here. With how it played, it's kind of hard to have any bluffs, any missed cards, because with how the hand played out, I do think maybe ace high can call. So at best, we're going to be bluffing with an ace high and hoping to get called. So if we do that, you can see we're about half and half, and we have to bet with all of our ace highs, but I don't think we can. I think only ace jack, ace queen is going to be our bluffing range. So maybe that's going to be our bluffing range. I'm going to do this. I am going to include this as our bluffing range. So 43.7 with 38 combos. So I'm going to ace good kicker. Yeah, so make a note that I don't know if I thought about that during the hand at all. All right, so I bet. Now the question is, what is he going to call with? I think he's going to raise with his straight. And I think he'll probably raise with a set. And he just calls. So I kind of feel like I think a passive player probably just calls with 2 pair. But with how we played, I think we're looking at middle pair plus, middle pair up to 2 pair, something pretty small. I don't think a weak pair is going to call. I mean, again, it depends on if he thinks I'm bluffing. If he thinks I'm bluffing, then yeah, I think he's going to call with his aces. Maybe not all of his aces, but at least some of them. So you can see that if we include his aces here, we're 67.7%. If we get rid of them and say he's not calling as a bluff, then he's ahead. And he's ahead because we do have some of these bluffs, and we've got the middle pairs that we're betting. Now his middle pairs, jack 10, queen 10, ace 10, we do include some of that, but if we get rid of this, you can see that changes drastically. So I'm not worried about the difference here. So I think middle pair plus, and these are maybes. The ace high hand and the weak pairs are maybes. So he did call. He shows sixes, so that is a weak pair hand. So he did call that, and possibly then would have called ace queen ace jack. My hand held up. I had jacks. So what do I think of this hand? How do I think I played it? I think I played it okay. Obviously, I don't think I really considered a bluffing range in the hand. I do think jacks and queens were kind of in the middle. I think as the hand was going on, I did think that once he didn't bet on the flop, I thought my jacks and queens are good, and I'm not sure he can call anything because I don't think the five really hits a tight passives range at all. I think he would have had a 10, and that's why I kind of feel like jacks and queens should have been bet in the hand, and I think I'll probably add that. I do want to make a note for villain 2 that he called. So called from, let's see, he called check flop, check king 10 for rainbow flop, check 5 diamond 5. All right. Call 9 river. I'll just make a note. All right. So hopefully you like this. I am planning to record tomorrow on Christmas Day. So if you like this hand, look tomorrow for another. Have a Merry Christmas.